AAA studios have gotten into this very bad habit of releasing unfinished games. Almost every single major title released nowadays are at least in some way bug-ridden and sometimes even unplayable. The games often contain a fraction of the content from the games in the same franchise from a decade ago. Halo Infinite. While budgets and development team sizes have increased, game stability, content, and features have been tanking. Features like split screen, voice chat, save slots, and scoreboards are all of a sudden now too hard to implement, despite being staple features for most games, again, a decade ago, if not required. Some studios still shine above the rest as an excellent example of prioritizing the player experience and have been reaping the benefits of doing so financially. So many indie games are reaping the benefits right now, and for bigger studios like Larian and From Software, they're just there to please the fans, and it's paying off big time. Hell, FromSoft just had one of the smoothest game launches ever a few days ago with the release of Armored Core 6. A feature-complete love letter to mech game fans with completely free customization options for players to create their own in-game skins and designs. No microtransactions necessary to make your mech look how you want. And while the game itself is not some revolutionary title by any means, AC6 is just a solid video game that knows what it is and does it well.
I won't miss.
Secondary shield down.
Now, I'm sure most developers would love to deliver games like the ones that fans have been celebrating the most this year, but unfortunately they work for some of the large, soulless Western game studios. Although, like in previous videos we've pointed out, several developers from those studios like Ubisoft, Activision, or Guerrilla Games really do like to try and convince everyone that this is all impossible, games like Elden Ring or Baldur's Gate 3, and all the while these devs are working for corporations with far more resources and money than Larian or FromSoft, and game developers like that can just fuck right off and go work for Marvel Studios, where they spend hundreds of millions to produce CGI that looks like it was from the 1990s, because God forbid a movie from 2009 is better than this shit.
Are you okay?
I no longer go by the name Astrid. I'm now known as Ass.
What the fuck is this?
So why can't these studios just stop releasing unfinished games? What is the main source of AAA studios' downfall over the last few years? I believe it's the games as a service concept that not only applies to multiplayer games, but single player ones now too. This corporate mindset has encouraged studios to ship now, fix later, and exploit the wallets of players for years down the road. And oftentimes we do see some of the lead developers from these studios even brag about how to pull off this scheme at GDC conferences.
Over-delivery is actually dangerous. With every release that you put out there, you're setting a pattern for your community and for your players. Because it's hard to tell a team that has extra cycles and they have energy and they want to do something amazing and they know how to do it, and it totally would be amazing and awesome for the game. Sometimes we have to tell them, like, we shouldn't ship this because it's an over-delivery. Beware of over-delivery. Over-delivery is actually dangerous.
Another new startup company is gaining a lot of attention on the internet. They're a company that does absolutely nothing, and they're called
Bungie Studios.
Have you noticed how everything has become a subscription lately? Streaming services for your TV shows, Microsoft Word and Excel, Photoshop, your video editing software, VPNs, even trimmers for your fucking nutsack. Everything is a subscription. And so of course video games want in on that recurring revenue. Whether it be with a traditional monthly subscription like World of Warcraft, or more commonly we find lately with seasons or yearly expansions to keep up with. But like we've seen a lot lately, it isn't just multiplayer games that have become a SaaS, or software as a service. Single player games have been treated the same way. Updates and overhauls to game systems, bug fixes, balance patches, these things are a reality for every single AAA product, and to be frank with you guys, despite these things sounding good, they fucking suck. A game at release, for better or worse, can often never be experienced again, even if it's what one type of player preferred. Several games have seen overhauls and changes, usually for the betterment of the game, but sometimes, especially in the case of balance changes, make the game less enjoyable for many others. Most AAA games today can never be experienced in the state that they were a few years ago. Some will of course say,
but the game gets better with each update.
Really? I can think of several examples where updates have made the game less enjoyable with unnecessary tweaks and changes or content removals, all for the sake of balance that has killed the fun frenetic gameplay those games may have once had. Blizzard, I feel, has been most guilty of this with the removal of the original Warcraft 3 from its storefront, as well as the original Overwatch 1, because even if those versions of the game are what you prefer, they're gone. They're gone forever, and that is really shitty. But the worst thing about games becoming a software as a service is again that it encourages studios to deliver an MVP, or minimum viable product. Put out something that works just enough so they won't get sued, a simple gaming concept, that's it, then finish or flesh it out later. And make sure to charge the player along the way with each patch. This is most apparent in a game like Sea of Thieves, a game I actually quite like. You know, when comparing its launch state to what it is currently, it's almost unrecognizable. At launch it was extremely basic and bare bones, but over time has become much more fleshed out and content rich. I'd say for the better, for the most part, but there are some states of the game I'd much prefer over some of the newer ones. And I hear similar stories with many different multiplayer titles from Apex to Siege, and of course Destiny, which have all had various states much better than their current iteration. Most Ubisoft titles released nowadays are guilty of this too, making changes to enemy difficulty and enemy scaling sometime after launch, even if that's not what you would prefer. Cyberpunk 2077 is a game I've wanted to go back and replay because I actually did like it quite a bit despite its problems, but that game gets a new patch and update so often that fixes or changes or overhauls something that I probably won't go back and play it until it receives its final update, whenever the hell that is, probably years from now. Destiny 1 stopped receiving updates years ago, and while there are things I do prefer in some of the previous states of the game, it's nice to hop into a co-op looter shooter that's more or less complete. The state it's in right now is the state it will be in for the foreseeable future, whereas Destiny 2 constantly sees the game quality go up and down over and over again with nerfs and buffs and system changes that make it pretty hard to get invested. And the things that do need changing or addressing always remain the same and never get attention. Bungie really do treat that game in a very backwards ass way. And as a big Fallout fan, I've wanted to at least attempt Fallout 76, even though I know it will likely turn me off because it's a live service. But again, I still want to give it a try. However, like Destiny or Cyberpunk, I don't want to hop in until it's seen a final update, which at this point is probably never going to happen. And maybe this is just a me issue, but these days I like to play a game knowing that everything I'm doing and playing will stay that way forever. None of my builds being changed, content being removed, or updates that may break something that once worked. It's why I mostly stick to playing games from the early 2010s that abided by that rule before everything became this ever-evolving live service that just never stops getting updates. Plus, how annoying is it that every time you try to launch a game, there's a new update for it? If you don't have top-of-the-line internet speeds, you're going to be updating more than you're actually playing games. God, it's so annoying. So let's go ahead and take a look at some examples of some unfinished AAA games, and I'll keep things sort of brief here, and we're going to start with Halo Infinite. Now, Halo Infinite shipped with less content than several previous Halo games. From maps to game modes to weapons, stripped down garbage monetization-focused progression systems, it was one of the most bare-bones and naked multiplayer experiences I've ever played. The very definition of incomplete and frankly not enough at all. But the thing is, I actually really liked the gameplay of Halo Infinite. It wasn't perfect, but I thought it felt pretty damn good to play. It just didn't have anything to keep me around. Even the single player was below average. Now, even though Infinite supposedly has more content than previous Halo games, at least according to this video posted 4 weeks ago, it doesn't matter. It's been 2 years. Nobody cares. Especially since progression is still awful. You lost a majority of the player base due to the state Infinite was at launch, and I don't think it will ever fully recover, no matter the content updates. And what's super frustrating is that if this game released with proper amounts of content, and essentially in the state it's in now, this game could have went on to be one of the best Halo games and made Microsoft a boatload of money. And I really think this is a clear example of ship now, fix later actually hurting the bottom line more than these companies even realize. They are missing out on so much money by shipping broken games. So many gamers like myself would be dumping hundreds of dollars into these games if they actually fucking worked and had all the content at launch. But because they don't, I feel no reason to stick around. You've probably heard that saying before, step on a dollar to pick up a dime. That's what these companies keep doing. Next, we're going to take a look at Redfall. You know, I've been replaying Dishonored lately, and it's an amazing game by Arcane. Just about everything clicks damn near perfectly. It's beautiful, it's fun, and
all of this just works. And again, it just works.
Redfall was a pretty big disappointment for me, but not entirely unexpected after the release of Deathloop. I think Deathloop really started to make me question Arcane's abilities, as I found the game to be very lacking in every single way, especially when you compare it to Dishonored, but I at least appreciate them trying something new. Then comes Redfall. Now unfortunately, it's a game that should have never been made. Even its concept is pretty bad, to be honest. It has probably the most lifeless open world I've ever seen, completely bland and boring mission design, somehow worse than Ubisoft open world mission design. Yes, it is that bad. Certainly one of the worst narratives from Arcane, and extremely generic gameplay. More generic than Far Cry gameplay. Every single area of the game lacking this much really did make it feel like a pre-alpha build, and nowhere near finished and fleshed out. This game really felt like the very definition of a minimum viable product. And then to even avoid getting sued even further, all physical copies of the game received a very special sticker. See, the game's case says 60 FPS on the back, so this sticker was there to specify that 60 FPS performance mode was not available at launch. Again, to avoid getting sued. I mean, what more proof do you need that Redfall was an unfinished video game? Battlefield 2042. I mean, what else can we really say about this game at this point? This game's launch was pathetic. No campaign, no classes, lack of maps and modes, lack of weapons, and basic features like a scoreboard, server browser, persistent lobbies, stats page, all of this is gone. And it was one of the most broken Battlefield launches with hit detection problems, reviving teammates was basically a dice roll if it would work, just a depressing game at launch. And again, despite it getting content added later with seasons, who cares? The game is still pretty much dead at this point. Cyberpunk, Fallout 76, Jedi Survivor, Dead Island 2, Forspoken, all of these games at launch were broken messes and lacking content. Hell, even expansions for games like Destiny 2 Lightfall. Expansions that lack content. It's just frustrating. There's so many unfinished, unpolished, and not enough content-filled games, and you know what? It's not even about quantity of content sometimes. The quality of so many games released lately are so below average despite getting crazy high reviews for some reason. And also, again, in the case of so many of these games, it does not matter if content is added later, because by the time the game has the content it should have had at launch, it's usually been 2 years, so you've already lost my interest and most people's interest. And I feel like Destiny really normalized this shit, and many of us did stick it out there and found the game to only get better over time, at least as far as Destiny 1 is concerned. But I, and many others, are just not going to stick around and wait for every single new game to reach baseline level content in a few years. We're at the point where it's either you get my attention now, or you lose me as a customer forever. And I think most everyone should probably have this attitude, or else companies will never feel the need to deliver a finished product. Which is a big problem right now because so many people make excuses for these corporations, and it negatively impacts the entire industry. And the same thing goes for bug fixes. If your game launches buggy as fuck and has broken systems and game-breaking exploits, first of all, strike 1, 2, and 3, I'm usually gone already. They've lost my sale. But if you can get that shit fixed within a month, plus offer some sort of compensation for the fans, then I might give you a second chance. Like what happened with Assassin's Creed Unity back in 2014, that game was very buggy at launch and released in an inexcusable state. That can't be understated. But Ubisoft got a majority of those bugs fixed in less than a month. Not all of them, as some will always remind you, but I never experienced a single bug in my playthrough after that first month. And on top of fixing those bugs, Ubisoft gave everyone the Dead Kings DLC that was set to release in a few months. And for those who already bought the Season Pass, Ubisoft allowed them to redeem one of these games for free, and then went on to discontinue the sale of Unity's Season Pass. And this is Ubisoft we're talking about, the company we all despise 10 years later for numerous anti-consumer practices. And I gotta give it to them. The way they handled the broken Unity launch post-release was excellent, and yes, the least they could do. Now some will still never forgive Ubisoft for Unity's launch, which is very understandable, but flash forward to 10 years later, and if a game's release is just as broken and garbage as Unity was at launch, we've got millions of gamers lining up to defend the corporations. We've got game developers crying on Twitter about how gamers don't understand how hard game development is, and that we should just be grateful we even get to boot up the title screen for $70 and have a cash shop that works flawlessly. Look, gamers lost their balls years ago. I get it. But this is essentially why I'm not too hopeful for the AAA space moving forward. There's too much greed at the top level, too much incompetence in the development process, and a consumer base hell-bent on giving these corporations whatever money they ask of them. It's one big pathetic corporate circle jerk, and it's hard to watch, honestly. I used to be somewhat proud to be a gamer, as corny as that sounds. You know, this space offered some of the best socialization, some of the best stories, immersive and unforgettable moments, hilarious game nights with the bros. But god damn it, dude, in current year, being a gamer has gotten to be so pathetic, as a majority of the mainstream part of this hobby has essentially become delusional corporate simps with no standards for the product. Anyway, rant aside, you know, 2023 has been somewhat of a decent year, at least by modern gaming standards, especially thanks to indies and AA studios, but those that are calling 2023 2007 Part 2,
it's false. No way. Not this time. No. Pure fiction. Not a chance. You're wrong.
2023 is nowhere near as good as 2007 or even 2010 or 2004. Even 2015 was pretty solid in comparison. I think it's just been so long since we've had really competent game year releases. In 2023, it's definitely not that good, but there are some half decent, 7 out of 10, above average games released this year. And I don't think there's anything much higher than that, to be honest. Anyways, that's all I got for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Here's some more indie recommendations for you guys. Subscribe for more videos just like this one, and I'll see you all in the next one.